I mean, to me, you have a really very interesting career. I mean, as you just presented here from your previous research, I read that paper. I mean, the paper Michael published in 2012, illuminating the effects of dynamic lighting on student learning, has been cited as many as 137 times. This indicates that how influential, I mean, Michael's work has been to the field of study. And I think it is really interesting. You used to be a teacher at elementary schools, and you've been a professor, and you researched on the light effects on learning. It's a very rare case, I would say, right?
Yes.
So what
yes.
made you devote yourself in the study of lighting in education?
Well, it's interesting. It's the fact that I was able to do this research, and that there's not enough research in classroom lighting and learning, came about due to the fact that there was a subsidiary company that manufactured the lights, and they could install them in the schools. When they approached me, it was such a good project because I was able to measure learning. And so whatever the specifications were, and all of that research that led to the specifications that you just saw before you in the presentation, we were able to measure their oral reading fluency, and it made so much sense since it's an area that we really need improving upon. And there's very little opportunity for education researcher like me to do that research, especially when we did it back then, because now we have LED. That was a fluorescent, very high energy consuming solution. Here we have something much different, and I have received a great deal of interest from these studies from light designers, from researchers, across a number of fields.
In that context, I think it'll be the right time for us to have Aaron Smith
Yes.
together with us. I mean, Aaron Smith. Let me introduce Aaron to the audience. Aaron Smith is a vice president of technology and R&D at Finelite and an alumni of the Lighting Research Center. He supports the development of energy efficient, high quality, and sustainable lighting. He also supports Finelite's new technology integration, new product development, and research efforts. Let's please welcome Aaron.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Aaron. It's
Thanks,
great
Elio.
to have you here together with us.
Very happy to be here.
So, Aaron, you listened to Michael's lecture today, right?
Yes.
While you were waiting. So, did you find anything interesting to you, particularly as a lighting designer, manufacturer point of view?
Yeah, I think in the lighting industry, we've been focusing on the acute effects and the circadian effects that lighting can have. And this study really helps us see that we can make a connection to something that's very specific that can help children cognitive behavior learn better through lighting. And it's not a new application, but it's a really exciting, different way to think about how can we improve people's lives through lighting in the classroom.
So, as far as I know, Finelite's been working on many lighting projects for schools, right? And is there any particular reason for Finelite to decide to devote, decide to have this specialty in lighting for education?
Well, we have a very motivated founder of our company, Terry Clark, and he was very interested in research and lighting and making lighting better, not only in schools and offices, and all different types of applications. So in the early 2000s, he got an opportunity to participate in some California sponsored research to reduce energy load in classrooms and light them better and make them better for teachers, more efficient for them to manage the classroom. And through that and through the new technologies like LED, that was fluorescent at the time, LED, we got into the human-centric lighting side. And so we've been able to participate in conjunction with folks like the DOE and PNNL to research these opportunities. And it's really through that devotion to make the classroom a better place for learning for kids and for teachers.
To be specific about a special project that you have done before, how did you like it when you co-worked in the Goldrich Elementary School circadian lighting project?
Well, that project's very interesting because it was looking at 4 classrooms, and some of those were students with autism, and we provided the lighting for that, and it was actually run by PNNL and the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. And the interesting thing that they found out from that research was that it did help improve those students that had not learning disabilities, but that were on the spectrum, help them sleep better by having both the classroom lighting and lighting in the home. So it was a holistic approach. So what you've been talking about today is very exciting because we were doing that work with conventional LEDs, and with this, with new technology and new spectral tuning coming out, should be able to do that even more efficiently, and with warmer color temperatures.
See, so Michael, it seems like Aaron must have been in the similar type of research through his career as well. Would there be any common things you can discuss with in order to, for example, think about a better research activity in the future?
Absolutely. We have a lot of great ideas, and Aaron and I were discussing, and Aaron brought up that the possibility of having case studies and looking at what teachers would do with this technology. And I also think that he underscores a really important point. It's not just the lighting in the classroom, but lighting at home and the sleep-wake cycle, which is probably one of the most important health indicators for all of us, is your sleep-wake cycle. And so studying that in a number of ways, we mentioned that we could do case studies to evaluate it. We could do experiments to look at achievement, because this would speak to classroom teachers, and it would speak to parents and the educational community in general.
Didn't you have any difficulty, getting participants from consent from the parents when you performed your research at the school in real field, testing?
Well, I'll go first, and then maybe Aaron will have a similar or different response. We found that the participants, all of them, teachers, administrators, were overjoyed to participate in the research. First of all, when they saw the lighting, they were so excited, and they experienced it. And the only problem we have, if you could call it a problem, is that the teachers that were relegated to only using the normal light setting wanted to try the focused light setting. They were very excited about it.
Yeah, we really had the same experience too. The teachers are overjoyed by having this new control over the technology. In fact, when we did a study with the Department of Energy to look at the lighting of the future in the classroom, and part of that was tunable lighting in the classroom, high efficiency tunable lighting, and a control system that would be easy for the teachers. And we invited about 80 of them to come in for a focus group. And they would come up with new ways to learn about the lighting. And so they're excited not only to understand the benefits of this new lighting in the classroom, but to come up with their own ways to use it for their curriculum. So it really really becomes part of their curriculum development, and they get these added benefits that they can use. And it's really a learning opportunity, but they're more than happy to get the new lighting. Lighting in the U.S. is there's a lot of still older technologies out there. So if you go into a lot of classrooms, you still see fluorescent with switches at the wall. So being able to control the classroom from the front of the classroom in an easy way that they understand, and they can transition to a mode of lighting that's for doing presentations, or a mode of lighting that's just for general learning or for reading. That's a very powerful thing that teachers haven't had in the past. And so that's why we're excited to kind of bring these technologies to the forefront and get people to get them in classrooms.
Yeah, I remember that when I visited the Finelite back in 2016 or 17, I was amazed to see the school setting, classroom setting with a lot of, beautiful lighting fixtures and controls that were like controlled by a touch of the panel on the wall. That was very convenient and handy. That was great. So obviously, it would be really great if every school in the world, at least in the U.S., for example, your country here, equipped with those kind of, lighting, advanced lighting for education. But the fact is that the schools are not really well equipped, right? So what is the situation as an educator?
I think there's several factors. One of the most important factors is that in schools, the people that make the decisions about the lighting might not be on the academic side. They might be more plant management side. So they don't know about the cognitive benefits of optimal lighting. And so the other factor is that in large school districts, you might have a superintendent who understands the benefits of lighting, but you have a school board that are non-educators but are citizen school board members. They have to be brought up with understanding the value of good, high-quality lighting.
This is the reason why we have this webinar together, right?
Yes,
To invite audience from all over and spread this good idea. And I think one day, this should be accepted by general public, as well as the school sector.
I think so.
Anything to add?
Yeah, sure. On that note, I think we were talking about case studies earlier, and this is a real opportunity to bring different types of stakeholders into the discussion so that they can learn about why this might be important for their classroom and what kind of benefits they can have. So I think this webinar, things like this webinar and case studies, new case studies would be very helpful to kind of pull the right people in, because we know a lot about the lighting, but there's a whole other case study that we can do about educating people about why they should put it in their classrooms.
If there would be like a case study with a little more sophistication than the initial ones that we experienced in the past, what would be the better variables and the better optimization that we could seek for the advanced study from here to forward?
I would say that even just affirming prior research, which we can do so much more expediently now that we've done this, using existing measures that classroom teachers use, albeit with the different lighting in the classroom. So it's really the first thing, aside from the variables to study, are if the lighting is in the school, then we can study a lot of things. We can study different content areas. We can study behavior, the affective domain. We could study students with exceptionalities, with special needs. And we could use light as the intervening variable and see what happens.
That would be really great. Aaron, do you also have like some future plan?
Yeah, I also think this is a great opportunity because there's now we have a much broader range of LEDs, so we can study what these different ranges mean for not only manufacturers but for the industry. Which ones are the most pleasing? Can we put together a type of supply chain that allows you to have a broader set of choices? Because now there's a much more choices that we can have, and also how can we coordinate getting light not only in the classroom but in people's homes, especially for at-risk students that this might be very, very beneficial in those cases.
Well, there are kind of relevant questions from the audience actually. So the lighting condition is not only important in schools but also important at home as well. And in the middle of pandemic, I mean, this question would be relevant. My kids always use electronic devices when studying. If I use the energizing light, won't it be too much of the blue light hazard? So this the person from the audience is concerned about, firstly, the use of electronic device when studying. I think this is more related to like a educational psychology thing.
Yeah, it is.
So I think this question would go to Michael. And won't it be too much of blue light hazard? LED lighting, in terms of blue light hazard, I would like to direct this question to Aaron.
Sure.
So starting from Michael.
Well, I would say in terms of children being exposed to blue light, it depends on their bedtime, because there's a shelf life physiologically when your cells experience that blue light that will keep you awake. Right. So that's the concern there with that. Yeah, we have to have a better understanding of how to use light settings, not only in school but at home as well.
And the question actually was like using electronic devices while studying. This means like kind of listening to music while studying. It's kind of a little bit off the theme, but would you recommend something on that? I mean, would it be still okay or not?
Yeah, it's funny. I automatically answered the other question because it's easier, but this question is very complicated, and I think that there's so many parameters because children can use the technology in very productive, healthy ways, and they can also use the technology in ways that are not conducive to learning and their health. And so I would really need to know the context and the exact situation.
It's hard to tell exactly what it is at the moment by just reading this question. By the way, in terms of the blue light hazard of lighting, I mean, Aaron, would you think that this is to be really a problem or not?
It's not a problem, especially at the lighting levels that we're seeing. DOE's this was when blue LEDs came out. This was an issue with people, looking directly into blue light. But it's not. It's been thoroughly researched, and it's not. There's no. The light levels aren't high enough. You got to get really high light levels in order to have any kind of blue light hazard. So, yeah, no fear of that.
I see. Adding to that, actually, the blue light hazard curve is maximum around like a 430, 440 nanometer of short wavelengths blue, right? But what I'm talking about, like a energizing lighting solution, I'm talking about the longer wavelengths blue around cyan region, which is a lot less harmful than shorter wavelengths blue. So by making use of the energizing lighting solution from Samsung, you're better off in terms of blue light hazard, right? You agree, right?
Yeah, it's really about the light level. It's so low that it doesn't even come into play.
Okay. The next question is like, does energizing and relaxing offered on module? So, can a single module accommodate like energizing and relaxing lighting? So I think this one also goes to Aaron, because Aaron, you were the one who were so into like a tunable lighting application so far, right?
Yes. I'd say probably over 80% of our products have a tunable offering, and we do 6500K to 2700K with conventional LEDs, and that's a lot of what these studies that I've worked on have used. And so absolutely, the LED technology is essentially the same from an electrical standpoint, and so we can do the same type of tuning with these new LEDs. So it can absolutely be done. There's some interesting applications that we could do. Keeping the same color temperature, but having a high melanopic influence versus a low. So I think those types of things are really exciting.
It's true. So to tell you the truth, I mean, we are the component manufacturer, and we offer like LED products, LED components that can be either used alone or in combination with, relaxing and lighting. So relaxing and energizing. So as Aaron mentioned, I mean, it'll be anything's possible. You can make use of energizing for a certain place for a certain time, or relaxing lighting for like a home applications. But at the same time, you can populate a single board with energizing and relaxing lighting, and put it into a tunable controller so that you get the tunable lighting, which is really neat. All right, let me move on to next question. Okay, so in these days, homeschooling is becoming more common, right? And how do you recommend to use this light for kids? So is there going to be like a specific guidelines for kids? I mean, would there be certain things that you might like to comment on?
I think that's something that Aaron and I were talking about. We have general parameters, general guidelines, but nothing specific. There hasn't been enough research. That could be one of the most important areas of research that defines best use practices without confining teachers to creating unique and original uses of the lighting. And it's also very developmental question. If you have early childhood, you have a real use for warmer color temperature when they're using large manipulatives, and they're not doing something like reading text, which your eyes develop. It's not till you're about 7 or 8 that they have the ability to focus like in an adult. Children can only focus for a few minutes, depending on how young they are. So they're using larger manipulatives. The light conditions can change, and what would be optimal for that to promote calmness, working with calmness, building things. So, pre-K, kindergarten, ages 3 to 5, you have a real need for energizing lighting in certain situations and calm lighting in others.
In order to calm down those children in some circumstances.
Right, and if they're doing interactive work, maybe they need to be calmer than if the work requires deep concentration and focus.
I see. I think I remember reading some similar stories from your study as well, Aaron, from elementary school projects, right?
Yeah, the teachers did find that they could use the lighting to help them when they came back from recess, calm them down, and these are things that were found by us early on. They would do it with fluorescent lighting, and it still works for LED lighting. And we just don't know necessarily all the different ways that a teacher might use the light, and so that's very, very exciting to learn about what could the possibility be there.
Thank you very much. The next question I have here is, any information on how engineered spectrum affects students with ADHD, learning disabilities, etc., that might be impacted by additional external stimulus? I think there was a study relating to, children with ASD. Would you have like some comments on previous experience with that?
There's been some research on that, but it mostly centers on not the light specification, but using light filters. Is there a specific?
So our Folsom Goldridge study, the 4 classrooms that they had, 2 of them were students with ASD, and there's a very compelling video that the Sacramento Utility District put together, SMUD. And if you look up, I think, SMUD lighting study, the case study that they did with this one student, it really helped his sleeping habits, and they noticed a noticeable improvement. So it's a bit anecdotal, but the lighting did change the situation for at least 2 students in those classrooms. Now, it was a smaller subset of classrooms because those classrooms have a lot less students in them, but they did find very positive things. And when we had teachers come in for this focus group, when we were designing our lighting system, they would tell us stories about how they would have to delamp certain areas of the classroom to accommodate students that have sensitivity to light because of their ASD, or that the color temperature was too bright and they didn't have any control over it. So the fact that we can give people tunability and kind of personalize what it is that the needs for the classroom, I think that's kind of the big advantage, and kind of the big aha moment that I had when I was talking to teachers was the personalization of the classroom for specific student types is much more improved.
Got it. Okay, but would there be any more specific comment on like effect of the cooler light, brighter cooler light to the behavior of the children with ADHD? Would that be exciting those children because of the enhanced stimulus by lighting, or would that be still okay for them to study under like those kind of bright cooler CCT light?
So you're asking about the appropriateness of having them participate in the research? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it would depend on, ADHD has several types, 3 basic types. It would depend on, are they hyperactive or do they have hyperactivity? And because there's hyperactivity, there's attention deficit. And so the students have different subset of behaviors. So some students need calming, and that's not from the research with the light and the students performing, but that's just saying that obviously a calm lighting, if you're hyper, makes sense.
I see. So it's not like a one size fits all type of solution. We have
Right.
to be careful in personalizing the lighting condition for each type of people or student.
Right.
So it means that there should be a lot of studies that we still have to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And even with what you mentioned, with the 3 types of ADHD, that's a very simple assessment that the psychologists give. But that would be very interesting research to see how those 3 subsets would behave with different light settings. Very interesting.
I see. That's a very helpful comment. I mean, some of the questions are not the type of question that we can make the conclusion right away.
Right.
But obviously, we will have a lot more opportunities to work on, lighting effects on the education and, children's behavior. All those kind of study would benefit, the general public in the future. I think so. All right. Before we conclude, do you have anything to add, like as a final remarks? If we don't get any more questions from the audience.
I think the thing about lighting and studying this in classrooms is that there's kind of a layer of benefits. There's acute effects that lighting can have on people, and that has certain value that it can bring to the classroom. There's circadian effects in the classroom, and that has a certain set of values that can bring to the classroom. But then there's the things that we don't know, like the 3 different types of spectrums. Certain if we find out from teachers that they can set up their classroom in a specific way, then we can operationalize that and turn it into a specification that might be right for those types of students and share it with the broader education community. So I like to think of it as it's definitely not a one-fit-all solution. There's layers of benefit that you can have by doing lighting in the classroom. And the other big thing is that lighting has an impact. It has a big impact on learning and the teacher's ability to create an environment that's productive and helps the students learn and capture their attention, because they really have a hard job. They're trying to just make sure that they've got their attention and that they can get them to do what they need them to do so that they can be successful in life. And so I think, from a big picture kind of thing, lighting can help students be more successful in life, I believe. And I'd really like to, be able to be on the forefront of helping share that with folks just like Michael and Samsung would.
Thank you very much. It's a very good insight that you can share with the audience and from myself as well. Also, Michael, if we are not allowed to have the luxury of very sophisticated lighting at the moment, what would be the second best choice that you would like to seek for educational field?
I think that, and we've discussed this together, but to have superintendents and educational administrators be part of our conversations so that they can better understand the research. And Aaron, to reiterate again what Aaron just said, the impact of lighting is very powerful, but I think it's very much misunderstood in the field of education. Lighting is like medicine. It has a shelf life. Physiologically, it impacts you. And so we now know that it impacts learners in ways where when we use certain specifications, it improves cognition. And so we want to get the message out to superintendents and to have conversations with those decision makers in terms of improving classrooms throughout.
So it's really important to share these ideas and the findings of the researches
Yes.
with the superintendents and the teachers who are the stakeholders of the education, right?
Correct.
And also with the parents as well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think today's webinar was really, really helpful. I mean, we've been talking about just lighting all the time, but it was really nice to have an educator as a participant. And I mean, we are component manufacturer and there's lighting manufacturer and educator together to work together to, spread this good idea to the educational field. And we'll see, a better future, right? We can foresee that. All right.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So audience, this webinar will be available later at www.samsung.com/LED. We endeavor to make the world around us better by lighting. And according to Michael and Aaron, schools are indeed where we can make a great contribution by improving students' learning effectiveness as well as their health. So we know how to do that. Technology and products are ready, so let's go for it. All right? Thank you very much and see you next time. Thank you very much, my panelists.